Hello, Internet. This is Chase Wassenaar, and welcome to the last weekly before our third bronze pay per view for the Rough Drafts Competes Journey of Wrestling League. I am joined today not by my typical co host for the weeklies, Xander, but by the lovely podcast co host for the Rough Drafts podcast, Walter Ciedes Fetchuk. Walter, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Chase, you rigged it so I win this week, right? That I get the point. Oh wait, shit, we're recording. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm happy to be here. We just built out my card for this weekly show, and Chase, you asked me, hey, can you please join me on this weekly because it's sad when I do it by myself. And I said, sure thing, buddy. I'm happy to help. I'm in last place. I'm never gonna score a point, which is something I think I'm actively trying to do now. So the least I could do is add a little effort into the production value of this and give you a color commentator for tonight.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. None of us are scoring points except for Xander at this moment in time. He would need to fuck up colossally because that guy got two five-star cards across both of his weeklies so far. Which people have gotten five-star weeklies before, but I don't think anyone's gotten five-star back-to-back weeklies before. That's unprecedented. So,
Which is why it's so depressing he didn't send in a card for this show. It's a bummer. I feel bad that he forgot. So but that
yeah.
them's the breaks.
I guess we'll just have to skip him this week. Oh wait, I'm getting something in my earpiece here. He may have, unfortunately for the rest of us, put a card together that I don't think has any chance of fucking up. But you know
Hey,
what?
hey, stop the recording.
Uh-huh.
Listen, what you do is since this is recorded, you throw it out and you go, "Oh, shame, he didn't give it to us," and then he loses, and we're all happy.
I just use an auto simulator and let the dice fall where they may. Be like, sorry, buddy, I don't know what happened. This game's just so weird. Um, it'd be an interesting play, but at the end of the day, look, this just it frees up the rest of us, right? We just get to focus on telling good stories, on building up to this next bronze pay per view that we're all excited about, that we're gonna do at Tuesday at 6 p.m. PT. A little bit different than how we typically do things, because somebody on this call might be going to visit somebody else on this call in the very near future. So definitely be sure to check out twitch.tv/redshirtking on Tuesday for that stream. But for now, Walter, tell the folks at home, what do you have planned for us on SWA Primetime tonight?
So here's the thing. The ultimate goal of tonight's show is to set up the final match in this civil war between Eternum and Short. So we're gonna have three matches basically centered around that. The two tag teams, the Killers and AR60, they will wrestle against each other. Ethan Wilde will wrestle Kyle Lucha, and Daniel Stevenson will wrestle Wesley Lee Morris, with whoever winning the best out of three series determining the stipulation for what will be the men's championship match at Beach Break between Ethan Wilde and Daniel Stevenson. It's been a long time coming, but both men want to put this behind them, want their mainly it's really kind of funny. Both men, Ethan Wilde and Daniel Stevenson, they still have problems with each other. They're saying, no, that we're not going to be done after this. We're going to probably be fighting for a long time. But our faction mates deserve to move on. They deserve to get their shots at other titles, at other things, at other people. The Killers in particular really want to go after those tag titles, right?
Yeah.
Wesley Lee Morris wants to have his shot at a singles run here. Kyle Lucha, wants to have his shot at a singles run. They really, kind of want to be done dealing with each other as much as possible and move on with the rest of their lives. Where Ethan and Daniel have both, basically both said, like, listen, regardless of what happens in that match next week at Beach Break, if Daniel wins, Ethan clearly is going to want his rematch. And if Ethan wins, Daniel, still wants his pound of flesh. He still feels like, if he doesn't take that title off of Ethan, Ethan's never gonna realize he's not the most important person on the planet.
Mhm.
Outside of that, we have another tag team qualification match for the world tag titles. Tonight, we have the Scrimners against a hidden tag team. I haven't told anyone who this tag team is going to be yet, and I know this is something I didn't really convey to Chase in the previous weekly shows, but I can confirm right now, Prodigious and Pocket Rocket are the other two qualifiers they will be facing against Hollywood Bound, and the winner of tonight's tag title or tag match for the tag titles at Beach Break. And the Empress Kabuki has demanded that she be the special referee between her two challengers for the women's title at Beach Break. That is Raven and Jessie Mallory. She wants to see them up close in person, see what they're made of, see what she's going to be dealing with. And as a champion, and as, no offense to Christopher Devlin, probably the best champion we currently have here at the SWA. It's her right to scout her opponents, especially since she's going to be in a three-way match essentially. So I have given her that right, and that is your opening match tonight on SWA Primetime: Raven versus Jessie Mallory with the special guest referee Empress Kabuki.
Yeah, I mean, I love the card that you've laid out here. I'm very curious because we got that great promo last week from Daniel Stevenson, saying like, look, this is between you and me. We don't need to drag everyone else into this. I'm curious if Ethan Wild is willing to go along for that journey. But yeah, look, this is Raven versus Jessie Mallory. They both won qualification matches to go up against the Empress. So the Empress came to you and is like, I need to see these two fight. Is that how this match came together?
Yeah, well, she said Talia Adler. Talia Adler came to me, and she's the one that said, hey, listen, the Empress would like an opportunity to see her competitors fight. And I said, well, you could just go back and watch the last two weekly shows. Maybe instead of attacking Angelina Cardinal last week, you should have watched Raven against Aiko Haruka. Talia just kind of scoffed, and she said she would like to be a referee in a match between the two of them tonight. And I said, you know what? I really didn't have many plans for the women's division tonight. That's actually a pretty good idea. So yeah, you know what? Again, Empress Kabuki's 7-match winning streak has been a wonderful champion for us. So I was willing to allow this match to happen. Hence, we have Raven, who, like I said last week, defeated Aiko Haruka, and Jessie Mallory, who 2 weeks ago defeated Mei Fukushima. Two women, the losers of those matches, that also failed to unseat Empress Kabuki with multiple opportunities. So very curious to see where these two women stand up and if either of them actually stand a chance against the Empress.
Yeah, I mean the Empress has just looked so strong against everyone she's gone up against. I mean, she won a 1v3 against Totsuno Funosentai, a group that no longer exists because of how badly the Empress beat them. So, I mean, between Raven and Jessie, I think they've both got potential. They're certainly, from a work rate and charisma perspective, they are on that level. Popularity, I mean, nothing comes close to the Empress with how much she has won and how clearly she has won her matches. But the question becomes, Walter, between these two competitors, Jessie Mallory's had more matches. She's got more experience under her belt, but Raven has really made a statement as the glorified badass. She's put in some real work these last couple of months. So I got to ask you, who is coming away with a victory tonight?
Well, see, I don't know if anyone really comes away with a victory tonight. It will be Raven on paper. She is the one that is going to get the 3 count from the Empress. But the Empress is going to allow these women to beat the ever-loving shit out of each other. Really, the Empress is almost forced to have to count to 3 because of how exhausted these women are. There should have been a time limit on it. I probably shouldn't have put the Empress as the referee in this match, because now I am worried about Raven and Jessie Mallory's stamina and whether any of them are injured going into that match against Empress Kabuki. But the Empress seems to be the winner here. She got an up close, in person view of her opponents next week, and she she didn't have to wrestle. They did, and that definitely is going to give her an advantage in terms of stamina, energy, how she's feeling going into that match.
Yeah, I mean, we don't usually check this fatigue filter, but with the storyline you're building, I think it's important to note Jesse Mallory is going to be at 20%, but Raven's now at 37% heading into a match in which the Empress is going to be at 0% fatigue. And the Empress is already so strong on her own. That's quite the hill that these two fierce competitors will have to climb. It is a 4.25 star match. I think that's a very solid score here. And I think you're one special referee match away from leveling that up to a gold star, which I'm sure will be a nice thing to have in the back pocket moving forward. I think you've used them. Obviously, no one's used it as much as Xander has, but I think you've used them the second most, and I think this was a very strong showing. I look forward to seeing. Does this victory help Raven, or does it hurt more than it helps? Given how tired they're going to be, we will have to see at Beach Break on Tuesday, but. We do have to move on, Walter, to this street fight match, which, as you've already pointed out, this is a tournament short through and through. AR-60 and the Killers, who just had a recent match. Am I right?
Yeah, so I believe they fought. If I am correct, they fought at Schools Out. The Killers defeated AR-60 then. And then the Road to Heatwave, the week before Heatwave. So about a month ago, they fought again in an elimination match in which AR-60 won, and they won the right to determine the stipulation of the Chort versus Eternum match that was at Heatwave, that was that Steel Cell match that Chort won. So if you look at it right now, they are 1-1 against each other, indirect tag team competition. And again, this is more about the feud between the factions. This is the first shot of the 3 matches tonight to see who is going to be able to determine what that stipulation is. And whoever wins this, they get an advantage, right? Because then they only have to win 1 out of the other 2 matches, where the loser has to win both of those matches. So I'm quite intrigued to see who's able to come out on top here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like AR-60. I think Algenico and M60 are both great wrestlers who deserve the opportunities they've gotten. It was nice to see them get that first win in such a big match with the Killers, with so much on the line here. I do like, I mean, the Killers have been quite strong historically. Sure, maybe they've used some underhanded tactics from time to time, but that's the nature of the beast in a competition like this. You have to do everything you can. I am very curious, given that both of these competitors have gone back and forth in the past, have both had their big moments. Who is emerging victorious tonight?
So the wild thing is, you would think in a street fight, the team that's willing to be more underhanded, a little bit dirtier, would have the upper hand because they're more used to using weapons, they're more used to cheating, so on and so forth. But once again, AR-60 is going to get the better of the Killers.
And clearly that was the right call. That's a 5-star match, a huge overness boost for AR-60, which you love to see. Not that I think either wrestler needed it truly, but the M60 Assassinian, I think, have to imagine that was a typo. Getting that to mark out certainly helps him in the long run. It starts a nice feud between AR-60 and the Killers. Another feud, as you noted, the Civil War may be coming to a close at Beach Break, but that does not mean that some of these individual competitors are done with each other. And with a 5-star match that's full of action, I think it's very clear that the SWA audience loves what this feud is bringing to the table and is excited to see more. So a well done match on both of their on these parts.
Yeah, and don't forget that in a few, a month or so time, we will have that tag tournament that will end at the. I'm remembering my lore here. Give me 1 second. I need to remember my
Mildred
next
S.
little pay per
Robinson
view.
Cup, right? Am I
No,
mistaken?
nope, that's one of my titles. The Harold G. Vincent Memorial Cup, which
There
is
it
the
is.
next pay-per-view after Beach Break. That is where the tag team tournament will be crowned, and the winner of that obviously then will be the next challenger for whoever has the tag team titles. So it is important for some of these tag teams to get reps in now, because it's probably only about a month away before we will have whether I haven't determined if I'm going to do a single elimination tournament or a round robin yet. But they're going to have those matches. They are going to have to fight against each other, and then go into that bracket. And maybe one of these two teams will be the one in the finals or even holding the cup at the end of it. But we'll certainly see.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to watch. I'm very much looking forward to what may be the first tournament we've done in this competition, but we do move forward. And it looks like perhaps, um, I mean, I guess like right now, this is a vague prompt from the game, Walter. Tell us what is happening in the ring at the moment between Maester Gomez and Brooklyn Cambrille.
So here's the thing: Brooklyn Cambrille is out in the ring. She is, kind of. I want to say bemoaning, but kind of calling out Maester Gomez for what she did to Amanda Ace in that street fight, for being a bit underhanded, for maybe listen, if you wanted to challenge me, Maester, all you had to do was come talk to me. You could have just asked for a match. You didn't have to win a battle royale. You didn't have to beat Amanda Ace. You didn't have to do any of that. You could have just came out to me, like a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and asked for a match, and I would have been willing to give you that match. And Maester Gomez doesn't like being called out for being a cheater, so she fucking sucker punches Brooklyn Cambrille.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Also, I'm sure a great way to refute that allegation. But I mean, there you go. I believe that is quite the segment. 4 3/4 star, including a nice half star from your producer bonus. Given this is the first time you've done a surprise attack, that is a very nice place to be. It is a great effectiveness, and this is actually really interesting to see because I have not been able to figure out when talking to people the difference between entertainment and action when it comes to evaluating these. And it turns out action focused segments do better in pure companies like yours. So that's good to know. We've learned a new game mechanic here, Walter. So thank you for that. And
Make
yeah,
sure you guys are taking your notes. I know you're going to steal from me. And Xander, I know you're out there going like, oh, surprise attack. Got it. Wait, I'm an entertainment company. It doesn't matter.
yeah, I mean, this is something purely for the pure company. So I think well executed. And yeah, I imagine Brooklyn Cambrille has got to be hurting a bit after Maester Gomez gets that sucker punch in. But unless there's anything else, I think we move on now to a very interesting trios match here. We saw last week, right? Connor Creedon has said he wants to take a more active role with the Neon Wings. I imagine this Made in Japan match is a part of that.
That would be correct, but this actually also has to do quite a bit with Connor Creedon's feud with Heizo Ogawa over the Intercontinental title. With that being said, Ogawa has been looking for another challenger for Beach Break, and Connor Creedon's like, "Hey, bro, you and I aren't done. Like, I'm not just gonna like walk away. You beat me once. Okay, so be it. I think I'm still, towards the top of the company here. I think I still, deserve a fight against you. And you beat me in a submission match. That's not really like, I didn't think that was what the Intercontinental title was about. I thought it was more about, shoot fight, actual like, punches, actually
Mm-hmm.
hitting each other, actually getting up in each other's face, making the other person bleed. And Heizo Ogawa said, something to his manager, Kaito Sakura, in Japanese, a language that I am not fluent in. And Sakura said, okay, well, tell you what, you know, Kenji Saber here just joined Made in Japan. We want to see how well he meshes with the group.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you go get a couple of partners and we'll have a good old trios match tonight? And that is why the lads and Made in Japan are in the ring ready to do battle in this trios match.
Yeah, I love this for Made in Japan, right? We have two different managers out here showing the cohesiveness of Made in Japan as a unit. But obviously, with Connor Creedon and the boost he's given Neon Wings, it does seem like perhaps that is the edge that they have been missing. The question, of course, is, Walter, who is taking the nod in this one?
Well, see, here's the thing. Heizo Ogawa isn't finished, Connor Creedon isn't finished with Heizo Ogawa, but there's someone else who isn't finished with Heizo Ogawa. And as a distraction, Kaiichi Sakurai returns to cost Made in Japan the match.
That is, gotta be tough for Made in Japan. You can see the morale hit here, but it's a 3.5 stars. You know the distraction's gonna have a little bit of a penalty to the match quality, but it pushes up the feuds that are needed, including this Fighting the Darkness feud, which I did not know. Again, we're learning some game mechanics, right? But that this distraction would prompt the feuds that are otherwise not listed here. It makes sense, but is not something I'd seen before because I don't do a lot with match finishes. But obviously, I imagine the lads are thrilled. And how is Made in Japan handling this interference?
I mean, there's a lot of yelling in Japanese. There's a lot of angry yelling in Japanese here backstage, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I'm sure though this will have some sort of bearing on what is going to happen at Beach Break.
Absolutely. I mean, it has to, right? I mean, Kenji Saber has already really set himself apart by betraying a tournament in order to join Made in Japan, and now Kaiichi Sakurai is trying to mess with this thing that they're building. I look forward to seeing how that pays off at Beach Break and beyond. But we have quite the match here in the middle of the card. It is the men's championship match between Ethan Wilde and Kyle Lucha. And I gotta say, Walter, I'm surprised that Ethan Wilde is willing to put his title on the line in a weekly. How did we get here?
See, this is now the second time in 3 weeks that Ethan Wilde has put his belt on the line against Kyle Lucha, and even the last time they fought, again, just 2 weeks ago, it was an unsanctioned match. I'm not quite sure. Ethan Wilde, just when he went out, said, "Oh, by the way, this is a championship match." I don't know what he's thinking. I didn't sanction that at the beginning, but I guess if he wants to put the belt up, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it's that he wants to give himself some extra motivation because AR-60 did defeat the Killers, and right now Chort is down 1-0 to determine the gimmick for that men's championship match next week at Beach Break. But if Kyle Lucha pulls off the upset, Ethan Wilde, that wouldn't be for a championship match. It would just be Wilde and Stevenson in a blood feud. I'm shocked by this, Chase. I really am.
Yeah. I mean, look, Ethan Wilde's quite the competitor. He's on a 5-match win streak, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But Kyle Lucha just got his first win pretty recently as well. You can see the fatigue, but this is a guy who's willing to do whatever it takes to earn those opportunities, to get those moments in the spotlight. And as a 4-4 face, in a company like yours, I know how important it is to have high-ranking faces that you can that you could have in these feuds against high-ranking heels like Ethan Wilde. I have to imagine Ethan has something in his back pocket if he's gonna make a match like this. I don't think he's doing this with the idea that that this is truly up for grabs. Does he have a trick up his sleeve, or is this just
holy shit? Is that hit my music? Hit my music! That's Cobra Gaston. What is he doing out there?
So I have something written down, but I want to make sure I get this right. Am I going for an interference DQ in favor of Kyle Lucha here without a title changing hands, or did you have something else in mind here from a game mechanic perspective?
It would be a distraction then from a game mechanic standpoint because I don't want Kyle Lucha to win.
That's entirely
Ethan Wilde
fair.
wins this.
Ethan Wilde getting the win. It is going to be another penalty because you've done this in the Civil War feud before. Kyle Lucha taking a 6 overness penalty is shocking to me. But it does do what it needs to do, which is it gets Cobra Gaston here in the ring defending Ethan Wild? How did this come to be? Why is Cobra here?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't understand. I don't know. Cobra just came storming through Gorilla, said hit my music, and ran out there and interfered in this match. I don't know what happened. And no, I mean Cobra and Ethan have both walked backstage by themselves. No one is saying anything to anyone. And Kyle Lucha is rightfully furious by this. I'm gonna probably have to have a conversation with him here in a minute. But that does now make Chort versus Eternum. They're now 1-1 on the night, with that main event of Daniel Stevenson and Wesley Lee Morris being the deciding tiebreaker of who's going to determine the gimmick match for the men's championship at Beach Break. Which brings us to our next segment. It is an event segment hyping up Beach Break, and as we can confirm, we will have that men's championship match, as we've now confirmed, between Ethan Wild and Daniel Stevenson. We'll have a match between Maester Gomez and Brooklyn Cambril for the Mildred S. Robinson Cup. We will have that tag team championship match, the prodigious Pocket Rocket, Hollywood Bound, and the winner of our next match will have the women's title match between Empress Kabuki versus Raven and Jessie Mallory. And Chase, for our listeners and watchers tonight, I can confirm Drew King just gave me another briefcase full of cash.
Perfect.
And in the main event at Beach Break, Christopher Devlin will face Jules Murphy in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the SWA World Championship. Thank you, Drew King. We greatly appreciate your contribution to our bank account. It will help keep us running for a number of months to come. And I can think of no one better deserving of another chance at Christopher Devlin than Jules Murphy.
Yeah, two thoughts immediately spring to mind, right? The first, on the Jules Murphy part, it felt like Drew King was full of hot air for a while there, but he has truly delivered when it comes to giving Jules Murphy opportunities. Jules has to be feeling good. Obviously, he wasn't initially interested in being in the Kingdom, but a match like that, an opportunity like that, you have to imagine he is seeing exactly what Drew King can provide. And the other thing, I just can't wait to see how the Scribners are interacting with the tournament short, right? It seems like the Scribners have not been taking a side on a feud like this, but Cobra Gaston putting himself in a match like this, I can't help but wonder what the Scribners have planned. Maybe they're up to some things, whether it's a Beach Break or beyond. So very curious how this continues to play out. But speaking of the Scribners, we move on to them versus Axel, Dustin, Chase. Which Axel, Dustin, Chase, I believe this is the first time these two have competed on a team together. But this was kind of shown before when Axel Dust came to Chase's aid, right?
Yeah, this is correct. So since the implosion of the Gaston brothers, I have been struggling to find babyface tag teams that can compete, that I think really stand a good shot. Obviously, we have seen the Profits here last week against Pocket Rocket, and we also do have Baja Lucha with Rey Sangre returning. Neon Wings, they are clearly dealing with Connor Cretin potentially going after the trios title. So we are struggling a bit in our babyface tag team department. And Chase was a little bummed out. He came to me and he said, "Hey, listen, like why are Connor and Neon Wings together? Like I've wrestled with Neon Wings before." And I said, I listen, I don't know what's going on inside your own faction. Connor just came up to me one day and said, "Hey, Neon Wings and I'm gonna start managing them. I'm gonna start going out there and talking for them because they do struggle on the mic quite a bit. And I think we're gonna try and go into the trios division. Like I still want to do some single stuff. They still want to do some tag stuff. But I think right now we want to focus probably the next couple of months on that trios division." And he said, well, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, well, listen, like you had a great match against Christopher Devlin at the last pay-per-view. But you've had a couple of shots, dude. You've faced Devlin in the last 2 pay-per-views and you've come up short. I can't put you against him again. Obviously, Ethan and Danny, they've got their thing. Connor's still dealing with Heizo Ogawa. You know what? What if I put you in a tag team? Right? What if I grab another guy, we throw the 2 of you together, we see what happens, right? We want to have we're having this qualification matches for the tag titles. What if I can find somebody that might want to tag with you? And he said, yeah, you know what? Sure. Yeah. I just want to be on the card. I really feel like I got something going with the fans. I really want to keep building on that. And I said, listen, is there anybody that immediately comes to mind that you might be interested in tagging with? And he said, well, hey, listen, um, what about Tyler Dynamite? Like I'd really like, Tyler Dynamite. He helped me out. He helped fight off Dominus Tenebris at Heat Wave so I could have that match. What's up? And I was like, hey, listen, actually, he's banged up, right? He hasn't been around. He's banged up. We're having him recuperate at home. Anybody else you can think of? And Axel Dust was, I guess he was around the corner or something, but he said, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he came around the corner, and at first I thought it was gonna be Kevin Bates, right? Because that's happened before with Jules Murphy. But no, Axel Dust stepped out and he said, "Nah, you know what? I got some problems with Dominatus Tenebris too. I'll tag team with you, and if we get those tag belts, maybe we can do something with them." And that's what we have here tonight. We have Axel Dust and Chase tag teaming for the first time together against Jace and Anthony Scribner.
Yeah, which, I mean, this is such an interesting match to me. Axel Dust is someone, he's currently listed as neutral, right? But he has been more and more acting like a face. I imagine that face turn could be coming any moment now, and I would be fully bought in. But, acting as this force, look, I don't like the Scribners. I don't like how they're handling business. I don't like what their faction is up to. I love this move, and I would love to see them pull out a win, but I have to imagine, right? The Scribners, they haven't won a match together, but they have wrestled together. They've got their whole family dynamic. I imagine that's got to be tough for 2 wrestlers that have never fought in a tag match together to overcome.
You would think that, Chase, right? You would think that guys that have been, lived together, breathe together, work together, all this stuff, that they would just crush it. But sometimes the 2 halves become even stronger when you put them together. Mm-hmm. And Axel Dust and Chase are going to manage to get the victory here. And we can confirm they will be the 4th team in that 4-way tag match for the tag championship belts against Hollywood Bound, Prodigious, and Pocket Rocket.
Fantastic. I imagine they're still going to be working on their tag name now that they are officially working together and have a victory under their belt. But I do like seeing this holy shit moment. Chase kicking out of Anthony Scribner's finisher, using his body to get up and has to be finished off. That's your first holy shit moment of the night. And given that there are not a lot of gimmicks on your cards, right, as a more pure wrestling company, every holy shit moment goes a long way towards the resources you need to prepare for a pay-per-view like Beach Break. So, I mean, the fact that this is a 4.25-star match, the crowd is in, without a feud, without a gimmick, it's just good old-fashioned wrestling. I mean, shout out to Axel Dust and Chase. They did what needed to be done, and they should be damn proud of that.
In particular, I want to shout out Chase, because as someone who was picked as a joke, purely as a joke, to razz on my good friend and co-host right now, Chase. He's really fucking surprised me. He's really done well, and I want to reward him. And this is a different way to reward him, since he just hasn't been able to do it against Christopher Devlin. So I'm excited to see what him and his potential partner Axel Dust may be able to do in the tag division.
That is an interesting asterisk that you've just added. I suppose I've liked what you've done with Axel Dust, and I'm very curious to see where this goes next. But we will have to wait for that, because our headlining main event of the night is Daniel Stevenson versus Wesley Lee Morris. And Wesley, he's been wrestling quite a bit recently, but he has been, as you mentioned in our kind of pre event breakdown, has been an enforcer for short. So Daniel Stevenson, I guess he called Wesley out, or how did this Iron Man come together?
So what happened was Chort and Eternum said, okay, here, listen, like we're gonna do these 3 matches against each other. Obviously, the tags against each other make a lot of sense. But me as a booker, I don't want to do Daniel Stevenson versus Ethan Wild tonight and then do it again next week with a gimmick for the men's championship. Like that just doesn't make sense. So I went to Danny Stevenson and I went to Ethan Wild and I said, listen, you are gonna fight somebody from the other team. Right, you're gonna fight somebody. Eternum, they had a couple of choices. They could have sent Rick Dolan. Obviously, before what happened a couple of weeks ago, they might have been able to send Kenji Saber before he turned on him. But at the end of the day, they decided to send Kyle Lucha against Ethan Wild. And unfortunately for Danny Stevenson, Wesley Lee Morris is the only other guy on the other side in short. He's not in a tag. He's not Ethan Wild. So you have to deal with this monster of a man. And I said, listen, I do want to give it a little something. I want to make this a little bit of a special match. And Danny said, fuck it. Make it an Iron Man match. If I can't keep Wesley Lee Morris down multiple times, right? If I can't beat him, I don't deserve to choose what Ethan Wild and I do. Yeah. I don't even deserve that match for the most part. I'm gonna make Wesley Lee Morris kill me before I lose this match.
I mean, and that has been Ethan Wild's claim, right? This idea that Daniel isn't good enough, that it's just been his ego getting in the way of, someone like Ethan Wild being the leader of this faction. For short, Wesley Lee Morris, a victory here would be such a huge statement. But Daniel, he's putting everything on the line and really pushing himself. And I'm hoping, as I guess the kind of by default face announcer of this competition, I'm hoping that's enough for Daniel to secure the win, because it's more, I want to see this Civil War with both factions at their best. Can Daniel Stevenson pull this off, Walter?
Daniel Stevenson puts down Wesley Lee Morris.
Incredible.
5-4, which is how Iron Man matches go. You give them an amount of time and you say, all right, lads, as many pinfalls as you can in probably what's like a half hour, 40, probably an hour. I probably gave him a full hour here. And as Daniel Stevenson is huffing and puffing on one knee over the fallen body of Wesley Lee Morris, Ethan Wild at ringside, stunned that his monster, that his enforcer couldn't put down a lesser man. Daniel Stevenson will yell at Ethan Wild, dog collar, and collapse.
Fantastic. I love this. It's a 4.5 star, but who cares about the score, because it gets both of these guys some popularity. It's a huge morale boost for Daniel Stevenson, who I think has been waiting for an opportunity to prove himself against a top level talent. He seems thrilled to have had a match as good as this one. It's a hot match, which boosts both of them in general. I did notice, I guess Kyle Lucha seemed to have his gimmick decline in his earlier match, so that's a shame. But I think overall, this is a huge win for Daniel Stevenson, for Eternum. It gets the dog collar match on the board. And I got to tell you, Walter, I love the first dog collar match you did, so I'm very down for another. Shall we see the total score here?
I mean, it doesn't even matter, but sure. Yeah, 4.5 stars.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that is the ties for the best you've done, I think, in this section of weeklies here. So well done on that point. As you said, we're all playing to just make the best storylines that we can, and I think you have built Civil War as best you can heading into Beach Break. So how are you feeling now that the card has come to a close?
I mean, I feel the same way as I felt this entire thing, right? I think some of the mechanics are poorly thought out. I think punishing someone for utilizing different finishers or not having enough of a variety of kind of like special finishers is a little frustrating.
Mhm.
But you know, I've said the entire time, like I'm not playing the game anymore, right? I'm done playing the game. I am ultimately the one that is here to try and tell the best story. And while I think, you know, some people, you know, particularly the hang time stuff that Xander does, it might be a better story as a whole, right? One individual story. Um, I'm gonna puff out my chest here. I don't think any one of you come close to the depth and number of storylines that I have going at a single moment, and I still have stuff planned in here in a notepad
Hmm.
that you guys have no fucking ideas coming yet. So, but I'm excited. I know I gotta like you know, I'm doing this more for me than to bring any of you guys down. I got to puff myself up. I'm pretty good at this fucking storytelling thing.
I
So
mean, I love the stories you're telling. I will say, you know, I have a 14-page document of narrative, so I'm certainly trying to do my best to keep up with you on that narrative front. But I think certainly, regardless of where you come down on that, I know you've put together some really cool stuff, and I can't wait to see how this continues to play out.
Chase, you didn't have a brother invade his family home and beat up his brother in front of his parents.
I have not done that yet, but I am
That
very
is
excited.
art right there.
I'm very excited to show you what's left on my card later tonight, but we have another card first. Excuse me, I think I'm getting some interference at the moment. I believe someone is hijacking their way into the call. And is that a Xander? Xander, how are you doing? How did you get here?
Yeah, so I just got back from yelling at Eduardo.
Mhm.
Had to make sure he understands really his place in the promotion this week. And when I say the promotion, there's only one that matters, all right? I know we're going to go through all of them, but I really had to be here. I couldn't afford to miss it. And it looked like I wasn't going to make it, but me and Johnny sat down and Johnny said, "Listen, pull whatever strings you got to do. You need to be there this week. You got to make sure you remind everyone who's in charge." And I worked some magic, and here I am.
Well, I hate to inform you that you've already missed Walter's very fun 4.5-star card. He has crowned himself as the king of narrative in this competition. Um, but we'll have to see now that you're here. You know, you came just in time to see Eduardo's card after all. So we'll see if Eduardo took your lessons to heart, I suppose, because he's got quite the card for us here. He's got a couple tag matches that are going to set up the top contender for the tag belt heading into Resistance. He's got a couple feuds that have been really good back and forth feuds. And he's got a match with one of his champions, but that is not for the championship belt, which I can't wait to see exactly how that came together. Uh, shall we jump into it?
Please, let's do.
I'm very excited to see what Eduardo puts on.
Yes. Well, we start with a tag tables match between the Corazones de Lucha and Psycho Circus. I mean, as everyone knows, the Guardianes de Blucara Masculino Championship was previously held by the Corazones de Lucha. They held the belt for a few months there before they fell short to the Hiroshima Hotties, the same tag team that they originally took the title from, and were unable to win it back before that feud came to a close. And the Corazones, as far as they're concerned, like they were the belt holders. They deserve to be the number one title contender for this belt. But Psycho Circus earned the right to be considered a number one title contender with their victory over Omerta in their feud, and they have only continued to look strong since then. They did take the one loss recently, but nothing to be ashamed of with their strong performance. Psycho and Mad have really put on some good shows. So the question becomes, does Psycho Circus reassert themselves as the number one contender, as the team to beat here? Or do the Corazones de Lucha stand strong and remind everyone why they were champions not very long ago. Walter, I'll start with you. Who do you think Eduardo gave the nod to?
So I think since you made a point of saying this is Eduardo trying to set some things up, right? Set up some new tag teams. So I am going to say Psycho Circus is going to take the win here to set up a new team, kind of ascending up the card and actually getting into, perhaps a title match.
What do you think, Xander?
Please, Psycho Circus. I always root for him. I'm not going to stop now.
Well, you shouldn't stop now because it is Psycho Circus indeed with a win. And what a big fucking win it is. That's a +6 overness change that gets both Mad and Psycho over with the fans. That is a huge boost, largely because this was a hot match. That also did quite well on the scorecard. 4 3/4 stars. A holy shit moment as Psycho hits Vincent Gabriel with a hard headbutt, getting 30 creativity points. And I gotta say, Xander, you have been harsh on Eduardo from time to time on this broadcast, but when you were not here on the broadcast for the last weekly, he didn't get any creativity points at all. Are you throwing him a bone here because he gave Psycho Circus the nod tonight?
Yeah, listen, I mean, we can look back at the last several weeklies and pay-per-views, and I think everyone knows that I have the power to give and take away holy shit moments. And I wasn't here last week, and I did everything in my power to make sure that the only person who ended up on top was me. That happened. I'm gonna be honest. I'm feeling a little bad. Okay, I feel like Eduardo should have some opportunity here. So that he can, have a real attempt to beat me in the pay-per-view. If I don't give him at least 2 holy shit moments in this weekly, I don't know that he'll have that chance whatsoever. So,
Wow.
I'm gonna throw him a bone.
Well, we do know that you are the game's favorite, but we also know that this was a nice start to a feud between Psycho Circus and Corazones de Lucha. So, well done to Eduardo on that. But we move on to a match between Ty Flaw and Brady Velasquez. These two fought on the weeklies back in June 2 different times, and they split 1-1 in terms of direct competition against each other. Both of them were in a battle royale that did not go either of their way, which is why both of them have their most recent match as a loss. But, Brady Velasquez, he's got the, El Arcangel de Fuego on his side, the teacher of the School of the Phoenix fighting style. And Ty Flaw, who believes he's absolutely flawless and has had some big victories to his name, even if that overall record does not look ideal, because Eduardo, much like Xander and I, does love those multi-man matches, especially at pay-per-views, that can kind of inflate those loss totals. But this is a tables match between two competitors that have gone back and forth here. Xander, who do you think is getting the nod tonight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Brady tonight. I think Brady really needs the win. Has some stuff that he benefits from. Got lost the last match. Ty. I'm not a big fan of Ty Flaw. All right, I think I've rooted for Mr. Flawless one time, and I know I've rooted against him the last 2 or 3 times. So I'm going to stick with Brady here. I will say though, I believe I rooted against Brady in a different match, because I don't think it was him versus Ty Flaw last time, and I think I rooted against Brady last time. So this is also me making up for that, and I'm hoping that he and El Arcangel de Fuego are able to come out with a big win in the tables match tonight.
I, for one, cannot believe that Xander has sided with the 19-year-old heel, the 4-3 here.
Crazy, right?
Walter, are you a bigger fan of the flawless Ty Flaw, or are you also giving the nod to Brady Velasquez?
I look at this and I kind of have to agree with Xander. Why? Why do you have guys that have fucking 10 losses? Why am I supposed to believe in them? If I am a fan, why would I ever believe in a guy like Ty Flaw? I get it, 4-4 when it comes to the game mechanics, but I just can't get behind someone like that. So I guess give it to the 19-year-old here that at least, popularity-wise, he's close, right? He could potentially be a face of the company, but this is, again, just a criticism I have of the game. Like, why would a fan ever get behind somebody that in like 6 months has lost 10 matches?
I love how much you believe the differences between 2-9 and 3-10. Like the the difference is a 1-1 split for Ty Flaw, but 10. I gotta be honest, double digits. It stands out, and I don't know if it's because of your reasoning or because of Xander's reasoning, but in either case, you're both correct. This is a Brady Velasquez W. And it is going to lead to another holy shit moment, as picking the person that Xander likes seems to go really well for Eduardo here.
Just don't
Illyria
stop. Okay.
knocked his head off and gets 30 creativity points. It's only 4.25 star. I think it's not quite the score that perhaps Eduardo was looking for, but it is 20 points for Brady Velasquez, and he is now, one big pay-per-view win away from potentially starting his journey as to become a face of the company. So we will see what that means for him and how Ty Flaw responds to now being 3-11, which, as you pointed out accurately, Walter, at some point has to matter. But we will see when that bill comes due. Right now, we've got a nice feud package here between Amatrayadora Anderson and Shichiro Ishihara. I mean, we know that Amatrayadora took the title of the Campeonato Andino belt at Make Your Choice. It was a big cash-in that paid off with huge dividends for the guy. But just because Shichiro Ishihara lost his belt does not mean that he's going down anytime soon. And this rivalry, this back and forth with a hot segment that seems to have the crowd popping off. A 4.5 star segment is certainly more than Eduardo was used to from some of his producers. We are past the check PayPal days, it would appear. And I mean, it's a very interesting back and forth between these two. I mean, Walter, does anything jump to mind as you see these two, this kind of cash in that has led to this title feud here?
I think that it's the long-term feud stuff, right? It's having a long-term feud, having consistent feuds, having guys constantly interact with each other over multiple months helps build, not only just the mechanics of the game, but overall interest that a fan would have. And you can then turn these 6 months feuds into maybe, someone wins this particular feud, but 6 months later, 8 months later, 9 months later, a year later, maybe in the mid-card belt, now you have a return to that feud. And I know mechanically there are some special feud types you can get after guys have already interacted with each other once or twice.
Absolutely. I mean, any thoughts on your end, Xander, before we move forward?
Nah, good feud package, positive producer focus. I'm sure Eduardo will be happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I hope that he will be happy with this next match between Daiwick Damerla and Cameron Johnson, because this has been quite the feud. It is currently a 2-1 score for Daiwick Damerla in head-to-head matches. Both of them 3-9 in singles competition at this point. Daiwick got the last win back in June on an episode of Destination. But neither of them has been able to secure a win at the big pay-per-view, right? These have been back and forth on the weeklies, and then they get thrown into these multi-man matches, and it's harder to make a name for yourself the way that Daiwick has built his gimmick around. He does have El Tigre de Neon, who is from the School of the Crab in his corner, and we've seen the School of the Crab do some big things recently. But Cameron Johnson, he's a daredevil. He is someone who knows how to take some risks, take advantage of some opportunities to perhaps get himself in a good position. Walter, I'll ask you here. Do you think that Cameron has what it takes to secure a victory and even this rivalry out? Or does Daiwick Damerla start to set himself apart here?
Again, it's hard for me to be invested in guys when they have like 9 losses, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say go with the School of the Crab, Daiwick Damerla.
Okay, we've got a Crab fan on one side. Xander, who do you think should get the nod?
Listen, as much as I love Crab Rave, okay, it's all about Cameron Johnson tonight. Cameron Johnson is going to put Daiwick in the dirt, all right, and it's going to be a great time.
I mean, look, I love crabs as well. I think the Crab Rave is a top tier meme to be sure. But in this case, I gotta say, whatever yelling you did at Eduardo before this card started, Xander, it does seem to have paid off because Cameron Johnson is winning. And this is the third time in a row that the person you wanted secured the W. And it's the third time in a row that it's led to a holy shit moment.
Again, I promised at least 2. He's getting 3. He might get a 4th. Who knows?
This is bullshit.
You can't make this shit up. I don't know what sorcery you have. I know you were in the DMs of the developer. And at this point, I think you just messaged him like, hey, I've got this multiplayer league. You know, it'd be really fucking funny. I think great idea.
Listen, that's absolutely what happens, and no one should look and investigate that further. I know exactly what I'm doing here. Okay. Yeah. Eduardo's gonna have a great card. He's gonna push all the narrative he wants. He's gonna get some holy shit moments. Still won't beat me, but it'll be great. It's gonna be a great card.
Well, it does seem to be going very well for him so far. Walter, you seem a little upset at how often this has led to some holy shit moments. What's going on in your mind right now?
I don't care. I don't care about the game. I don't care.
Fair enough. Well, we'll move on then. Get some more narratives going here between Violetta and Lulu Cherry. Violetta, of course, she was at one point a belt holder, the Campeonato Cuyan champion. She struggled after losing that belt. It took a while for her to be able to achieve some wins, but she overcame that obstacle. The Violet one has done better in recent weeks, but she has recently turned her attention to Lulu Cherry. Lulu, of course, being one of the 2 members of Bittersweet, who were the Guardianes del Purgara Femenino champions for quite a while. And Lulu Cherry, you know, that success was certainly something that she held on to, something that, you know, she can kind of hang her hat on. And Violetta called her out, right? Said, look, I don't think that without your partner, you can keep up with the top people in this company. And they put it on the line with a hopes and dreams on a pole match. And Violetta got that win. But Lulu Cherry, she's not done here. She's not satisfied with just being a tag team competitor. She said to Violetta, I want another match. I want a street fight. I want to go you and me. No, none of this pole shenanigans here. I want the 2 of us giving everything we've got, and with the weaponry that can provide. I don't want any restrictions on that regard. And Violetta agreed. So the question is, Xander, does Violetta manage to maintain her kind of status as someone who's so close to being a face of the company and take down Lulu Cherry? Or does Lulu Cherry finally figure out what it takes to win as a singles competitor?
Damn, I really hope not. It better be Violetta, okay? If not, Eduardo has gone off the rails on this one.
Walter, what do you think?
Well, will he have gone off the rails if what Lulu Cherry has figured out that winning as a singles wrestler means having your tag team partner interfere in the match?
See, that would be very cool, and I would be down for that. But Eduardo has sworn off match finishes after he had some really bad experiences with the squash that cost him the opportunity to compete for a weekly. So he's not touching that shit. This is just a Lulu Cherry W. Just straight up.
Disgusting.
He is giving the win. And look, the fans are in. It's a plenty of intensity. It's a 4.5-star match. Lulu Cherry, a big boost for her. It does not lead to a holy shit moment, which does
I'm aware.
If Xander doesn't like it, it doesn't have a holy shit component. But 4.5 stars is a great match. The fans are in, and we will see how Violetta responds to that. Certainly seems to have affected her morale a little bit, though she obviously has plenty to spare here. But yeah, Xander, you're not pleased.
Nope, not pleased. Not happy about it. Won't pretend to be happy about it.
So Walter, you wanted to see an interference, a distraction of some kind with her partner. Could you have any words of wisdom to share with Eduardo, who has been scared off from such endings because of how the game has handled things in the past?
I mean, yeah, no, the game doesn't handle them great, but that's the better story. Not the game not handling them great, but like that's what would happen with a heel tag team. Would be like, well, I want to be a solo competitor, but I couldn't beat you the first time. Yeah, let me do a no disqualification match. That'll happen. And then bam, her tag team partner hits you over the head with a stop sign.
Well, we will see how Eduardo feels about that. I think when you have 4.5 stars in a match like that, he's probably gonna feel just fine about how it all went down. But I understand both perspectives that you brought there, and I will be curious to see what this feud eventually turns into, because obviously Bittersweet are not done as a tag team. I don't know how often we're going to see Lulu Cherry as a singles competitor moving forward, so we will see what this means for both of these competitors in the future. We've got a main event package here. We already saw earlier tonight the feud package between Amatrai Adora and Shichiro Ishihara, but it is Amatrai Adora versus Ed Thompson in the main event tonight. And unfortunately, it looks like this was not the role that Eduardo was looking for. I don't think this was the producer's fault, since this doesn't have a negative penalty there. But Xander, is this your punishment for not giving Violetta the win?
I don't really punish people over segments, okay? But yeah, yes. The answer is yes.
Well, it does increase the action for the segment item, which, fun fact, Xander, since you missed it earlier, we found that action gets a boost in pure companies when it comes to segments, which was a thing that we did not know before. Yeah,
very cool.
Had no idea the difference between entertainment and action before this, but apparently it matters in pure companies, if nothing else.
Got it.
But Eduardo,
Understood.
You can at least feel good that that this level up has happened for the future. But yeah, probably not the role he was hoping for. This is certainly going to be dropped unless something crazy happens in these last two matches. And I mean, we've got quite a crazy match, because this is a pole on a pole match. Eduardo, the signature has been the teddy bear on a pole match, which now culminates in the Nova Championship golden teddy bear on a pole match. But after a Hopes and Dreams pole match last week, it's just a pole on a pole. And it's up to Jordan Amir and Adriano Cicelli to find their way to secure it. And I mean, this feud has been a back and forth for a while, right? Jordan Amir won at Deadly Gambit to retain the Campeonato Antu Championship. He originally took the belt off of Adriano Cicelli, but both of them lost to Gabriel Rivera at Make Your Choice, and they're each firmly pointing their fingers at the other, right? Jordan Amir, this would still be his belt if it wasn't for Adriano Cicelli getting in his way. And Adriano Cicelli is saying, you should have never had the belt in the first place. I would have protected it if it was still on me. But no, you couldn't handle it. So the guitar playing Adriano Cicelli wants to prove himself here, to assert himself over Jordan Amir. Jordan Amir currently 3-2 in this feud. The Phantom Executionist would love to reassert himself after Adriano got an I Quit match victory earlier this month. Walter, who do you think is getting the win tonight?
I think this goes to Cicelli, so you can propel him up into the actual title picture itself, have him go challenge for that title, and perhaps prove that he would defend it better.
Do you agree with that, Xander?
No, I'm never rooting for Adriano. I'm rooting for Jordan Amir here.
Any particular reason, or just you like the heels in matches like this?
No, I rooted for Jordan last time, and he didn't get the win. And I'm not a big fan of Adriano. I've said it, cool guitar guy? No, lame guitar guy. Give it to Jordan.
Wow. Well, harsh words for Adriano Cicelli, who I like the guitar gimmick. I like his Vive Italia kind of outfit here. But I think maybe Eduardo heard you and your frustration with the Violetta match, because this is going to Jordan Amir. It does give popularity boost to both of them, which is nice to see. I imagine that Eduardo looked at this and said, Jordan Amir is just 1 point above the face of the company threshold, doesn't want to bring him under that threshold quite yet. But it turns out that both of them get a nod here. It's a 4.25 star match. No holy shit moment. You chose not to reward him this time, it would appear.
No, I mean, he didn't give Violetta the win. Had he would have had one more holy shit moment. That's an important one. Okay, let's not undercut Violetta and what she deserves.
That's,
right.
I mean, that's fair. I do like Violetta as someone who had her in my original league that spawned all of this competition. Walter, how do you feel about Jordan Amir kind of reasserting himself here?
I mean, it's a choice. It's certainly interesting. Why'd you take the belt off of him then if you're just going to put him back up there into the title picture? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gabriel Rivera as the leader of La Sagrada Familia, I imagine there might be a faction angle that Eduardo's going to bring to the table. I look forward to seeing on Tuesday when we get to the next pay-per-view what Eduardo has in mind. But we close here with a street fight match, and you're going to notice here, Amatryadora is the Campeonato Andino champion, but this is not a championship match. Because Ed Thompson came to Eduardo and said, look, I know I'm not the number one contender right now. I know that I've lost my last 4 matches and that I have not proven that I deserve that opportunity. But I want to prove that I do deserve that opportunity. I want the opportunity to earn that. And that means I need to fight Amatryadora again. And Amatryadora said, look, if the title isn't up for grabs, I'm willing to fight you. We fought before I had the title. I'm willing to fight you after I had the title. I'm just not willing to give you what you don't deserve. And you don't deserve a title opportunity. And Eduardo says, look, it sounds like you're both speaking the same language. Ed Thompson, if you want a title shot, if you want the opportunity to fight Amatryadora for the Campeonato Andino title, win tonight in a street fight. Earn that. Prove that you deserve that opportunity despite this loss streak. And Amatryadora, he looks very confident. He doesn't look like a guy who believes that Ed Thompson, this cowboy, can take him down. Do you believe, Xander, that Amatryadora is going to continue to put Ed Thompson in his place? Or, without a title on the line, does that perhaps lead his ego to leave an opening for Ed Thompson to get an upset victory here?
No, Amatryadora Anderson wins.
Okay.
It's not close, all right?
It's not close.
Amatryadora Anderson puts Mr. Thompson in the dirt. And also just because, I like Ed Thompson's, I get that he's a 4-4. I get he's 4 losses in a row. I just, like I said, I understand narratively that you could be setting him up for a win. I think the downside, if Amatryadora Anderson falls down below that threshold at 10-18, is too high. And he's too hot right now. He wins it.
I mean, that makes some sense to me. Walter, do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I get maybe, hey, if Ed Thompson wins, then he gets a shot at the belt type thing. But I think that the risk of losing Amatryadora Anderson's rise, bro. Listen, it's 2:30 in the morning.
No, I get you. I'm not giving you a hard time.
You sound like me that one time.
His rise to face of the company when he's got a title belt on him, it's just not worth the risk.
I gotta say, if this was my company, I'd agree with both of you. I think Amatryadora deserves to be protected. But as we have seen numerous times tonight, Eduardo loves his 50-50 booking. The Campeonato de Luchasaur thrives off the idea that anyone can win at any moment. And as a result, this is an Ed Thompson victory. And look, the crowd is in. It's an interesting story boost. It's his highest scoring match of the night as far as the rating goes. And it gets that feud hot. The fans are in on it. They're excited for Ed Thompson to get a chance to challenge him for the title. It does not lead to a holy shit moment because I know, Xander, you are displeased, and that is canonically now how this works. But
Indeed.
the fans are in. I mean, any final thoughts from either of you on what we've just seen here?
Listen, Amatrai Eduardo Anderson should have won, and that's why there's no holy shit moment. I'm glad that he got, a 4 3/4 star reward for his interesting storytelling.
I'm
Don't
certainly
care.
glad that Amatrai Eduardo didn't lose more than 5 popularity. He maintains his journey to become face of the company. That was a risk, but Eduardo has said it's not going to happen. That's his answer to every single "but somebody could drop" that has ever existed. So here we are. Walters, we get the score here, and it is a 4.5 star card. He is going to tie you tonight in terms of the overall performance. Any final thoughts on your end on the card we just witnessed?
Hey, listen, I think I missed every single prediction that I had. And that's fine, right? That we are different people, Eduardo and I, and he obviously has some plans and some things that I can't, I don't see. And the one thing I will say about doing this in particular, commentating on it, is that I don't have all the notes, right? Sometimes it's hard to remember who is part of which faction or who's been feuding with you when you sort of come in and out at the time. So I give you a lot of credit for maintaining the storylines, being able to tie everything together, and sometimes that just means you miss something and you go like, oh wait, that guy is part of that faction that is the belt holder, so obviously he shouldn't win because from what I remember, nothing's been set up for some kind of betrayal. But the other thing, Chase, that I have learned, and this living in Vegas, a good gambler knows when to fold. And, I've lost all my money on Eduardo's card. I don't have any left to spend for yours or Xander. So I'm going to have to get up from the table and let the two of you duke it out for the rest of the night.
Well, that is very fair. I'm glad you were here for the 2 cards we were able to see. I love getting to have your perspective on the Stamford Wrestling Alliance because you've obviously put a lot of thought into what you're building. I do think it's a shame you're going to miss the storylines that I'm building, but that's why the VODs are all available on YouTube and indeed in a playlist now that makes it very easy to watch them all from start to finish if you want to catch up on those storylines. So any final thoughts of the people at home before you tap out tonight, Walter?
Fuck Xander.
I think that's as good a note to end on as any. Thanks so much, man. We will see you
buddy.
at the pay-per-view on Tuesday.
Love you guys. See you on Tuesday.
See you, buddy. Oh my goodness. Well, here's the thing, Xander. I don't think you can take fuck you personally, given what I know is coming on your card later tonight. But before we get to that, I've got my own card that I am very excited to bring to the table. Obviously the first week I struggled a little bit. I had a very limited cast of characters that I could pull from. But last week was making up for that, right? It was setting the stage for a few different storylines, a few different faction movement, right? So much because all of my people are in a faction, right? Having to reset the stage to get the storylines where they need to be. That was a huge part of what I built last week. And this week, we get to build on those things. We get to set up the title shots that are coming in. We get to set up everything that you need to know before Saving Throw next month. So, are you ready to see what I have in store here, Xander?
Oh, I'm excited. I am downright excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you missed last week, so I get to catch you up on some things. But let's start with something that I don't think anybody saw coming, which is the Chosen Ones are competing again together. I mean, obviously, Duka Igarashi is the Frost Witch champion now, but as second in command for the Sky Sentinels, she needs to make time for her faction members like her trio mates. And Wendy Blank and Davita say, look, I want to wrestle together again. We love wrestling with you. And we know you've got your own solo stuff going on, and we're not trying to get in the way of what you're building. In the same way that Davida, with her role as a member of Flying High, who are currently the tag champions, you don't want to get in the way of that either. But we like being a trio. We like having an opportunity to be together as a full unit here, especially since they've only lost one match as a trio. And Duca says, all right, but who are we going up against? Well, Risk It All, which has Bryce Dannenberg, Joey Smoking Gun Ace, and Mikey Dolan. They have been the trio that Chosen Ones have most recently been feuding against. And the Southern Sentries have been just absolutely devastating. The backstage area, they've been attacking the Eastern Elite left and right, in matches, out of matches, this kind of just, breaking the norms that have been established on what it means to compete fairly against your opponents here. And, as a face faction, the Sky Sentinels, they're not okay with that. They're not okay with a group like the Southern Sentries just inflicting wanton destruction wherever they see fit. And so here they are tonight, taking on Risk It All. And Risk It All, just like they feel with the Eastern Elite, they're here to inflict pain. They're here to take down anyone who gets in their way. And they're not going to sit here and be moralized against by a trio that hasn't even acted as a trio in several months. So the question becomes, Xander, do the Chosen Ones continue their strong performance as a trio, regardless of the fact that I've now completed the quest that led them to this point in the first place? Or do you think the Southern Sentries, with everything that's been building up in that feud against the Eastern Elite, come away with a victory tonight?
Man, it's tough because I can really see this going either way. Okay. I can see it going either way, and when that happens, I just go back to genuine fandom, all right? And listen, I see a heel faction that is 0-3 right now, that they're at 819 pop, which means, obviously there's 3 members, so the average, but I think there's a little bit more benefit to Risk It All, taking the win, the 100% over, 100% morale for the Chosen Ones. They can take a loss. Give it to Risk It All. Let the heels do some work. Put the hurt on them.
I hear what you're saying. And my answer to that is they're the Chosen Ones. They're not losing. What are you talking about? That's crazy.
Well, I have a legally obligated amount of holy shit moments I have to give you tonight. So if you keep going against me, they're going to be more sparing than they were on that one.
I understand, especially because the holy shit moment comes from Wendy Blank putting Joey Smoking Gun Ace through an announce table with an elbow drop. I know how much you like Joey Smoking Gun Ace. You get very upset historically when I don't give him a W. But in this point, Duca is a Frost Witch champion, right? She has asserted herself as one of the strongest competitors in magically enhanced wrestling. And I don't think I want to give her an L here. That's really all it comes down to, is the Sky Sentinels right now are flying high. And the pun is unintentional, but also accurate. And the Chosen Ones are getting the W tonight. But it's not the last we'll see of Risk It All. And when they're up against opponents that aren't the Chosen Ones, I think that's when you'll start to see some of these come together. But we move on now. Independents are very happy to announce that they have 2 new members joining the faction. Now, I don't know if you caught my weekly last week here, Xander. I know that you were not available. But if you did, you would know that Vinny Stacks left the Eastern Elite. The richest...
I did, in fact, see this, just for the record. I did, in fact, catch most of your card last weekly.
Yeah, so you knew this was coming, right? It was not very subtle with Johnny Scott meeting him at the top of the runway. Johnny Scott helping Vinny Stacks in his feud against Grim Oxley, being willing to take an L and say, I quit, to give Vinny Stacks a W because he cares about Vinny in a way that the Eastern Elite don't. And Vinny took it very personally when no one from the Eastern Elite came to defend him earlier in the month when he got attacked by Mikey Dolan. But, I gotta say, if you are Arsenico, right? Obviously, bringing in more faces to the faction is good. That's the way you've painted independence. You know, Vinny Stacks doesn't need the Eastern Elite, but it's also quite a lot of financial stability for a new faction, right? Without having this kind of formal system the way that these other factions do, independents now have the richest man in magically enhanced wrestling on their side. But more importantly, and more surprisingly perhaps, Techno Boy is here. Techno Boy has done everything he could to prove he doesn't need a faction. And in fact, when Arsenico kind of introduces him, there looks like perhaps a little bit of discomfort between him and Arsenico. But ultimately, Techno Boy is here to prove himself, and Independence knows how to set up matches that allow their members to shine. And Arsenico gets on the mic and he says, this is just another example of how strong Independence truly is, how we are all stronger together than the faction system could ever provide. But you know what, Fishbone? I understand you've had quite the difficulties recently, and I would like to give you a gift. Techno Boy, go take down Gavin Smith of the Southern Sentries in this next match. And Techno Boy says yes. So it's a 5-star segment, and it sets up a match between Techno Boy and Gavin Smith. Any thoughts before I move on to that match?
No, I mean, that's great. You know, Vinny and Techno, man.
Yeah. It's a huge boost for independence from a lore perspective, right? That kind of financial stability is big. But Techno Boy, you know, he's looking at this Gavin Smith match and he's like, look, I'm not anyone's lackey, but I'm here to do the right thing. And Gavin Smith, what you and the Southern Sentries are doing isn't right. You don't fight fair. You're attacking people when they least expect it. You are going out of your way to inflict harm. You're not even trying to win so much as hurt people. And I can't stand for that. I believe that there are values worth fighting for, that there are things that are bigger than a win-loss record. And I don't believe that what the Southern Sentries are doing is acceptable. So I don't care what Arsenico says about this match. This is between you and me, and I'm going to show you that what you're doing is wrong. And Gavin is just extremely unapologetic. He doesn't give a shit what a guy like Techno Boy believes, because he is extreme. He has been invited to the Southern Sentries specifically because he knows how to bring the hurt. He knows how to build something that will last and how to tear down those who stand in his way. And to Techno Boy, all he has to say is, fuck you, fight me. Take me down if that's what you believe, because what's right will be proven in the ring. Because might makes right. And I have might on my side. So the question is, Xander, who do you think I gave the nod to tonight?
Come on, give it to Techno Boy.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Techno Boy.
What are we yapping about? Sorry,
No.
I love the story building. I'm joking. I just really wanted to give it to Techno Boy.
No, look, I'm also happy to give it to Techno Boy here, but I think you see the morale boost from Gavin. He almost looks pleased after all of this, right? Like, you know, there isn't a holy shit moment. There's nothing that he can kind of latch himself onto. But he is the kind of person who sees a competitor like Techno Boy and says, yes, give me more of that. Let there be blood. Let there be fighting. Let this be, like, let the hate flow through you, right? He is absolutely ready for this to evolve into something bigger. And I think the fans are here for it, right? It's only a 4-star rating, but the fan popularity does go up. The morale for Gavin goes up. And this is just the start of Techno Boy versus Gavin Smith. And this has nothing to do with the fact that Grim Oxley got injured, and so Techno Boy needed a new feud. I'd have no idea why you would bring that up, Xander.
Why would I bring that up?
It's crazy that you mentioned it at all.
It really is, honestly.
But shout out to Techno Boy. It's a big win for him, and he continues his climb up the card as the newest member of the MEW. But we move on. Lucas Meltzer versus Michael Himalayan. And as second in command for the Western Watch, right, Lucas Meltzer's looking at all this, and he doesn't like that independents are playing favorites with the Eastern Elite. He's like, look, as a member of the Western Watch, as a second in command here, we deserve respect. We deserve to be appreciated. And this idea that you're helping out Fishbone, that you're doing a favor for this guy, I think that's bullshit. I don't believe you really mean it. But if you do mean it, then you're declaring yourself as an enemy of the Western Watch. And if that's the case, Michael Himalayan, you and I have words here. And Michael says, look, that's not what we're doing, right? We're just trying to build some bridges here. If the Western Watch had a feud like what the Eastern Elite and Southern Sentries have, we'd help you too. We're not playing into this game that you're so used to, this idea that factions determine everything. We're playing a larger game here. But you know what? If you want to fight me, man, I'll fight you. I'm totally down because I respect you. I respect the work that you've put in. And in this top talent feud, I just want some good matches, man. I got my Jester's Joust Championship with independents larger than life, are higher than they've ever been. And I'm ready to show you how much I've grown. I'm ready to show you how much the work I have put in onto this body, onto my fighting style, is going to pay off here. So that's the question in front of us here, Xander. Does Lucas Meltzer put Michael Himalayan down, or does the power of independence propel him to a victory in this tables match?
Listen, I know you're giving Michael Himalayan the win, but I'm not going to stop rooting for Lucas Meltzer. Lucas Meltzer dub. He puts Michael Himalayan through a table, who then apparently gets up and pins him.
I have some good news for you. Lucas Meltzer's winning.
Oh my god! Okay, well,
because Lucas Meltzer, he's second in command of the Western Watch at this point, man. He has grown beyond someone like a Michael Himalayan. Michael Himalayan has a trios belt, but he doesn't have his trio at his side right now. Michael's still got some growing up to do if he's going to take on someone as talented as Lucas Meltzer. It's a hot match. The feud is yet to go hot, which is a little unfortunate. And you didn't give me a holy shit moment for giving.
Listen. That's the one that I'm making up to you for the first one. Okay, that you don't get it for that one because you got it for the first one.
Wow. Okay, I see how it is. I do like that Lucas Meltzer continues to propel himself up the card.
No, that's awesome. Listen, giving Big Lucas the win here is big stonks. Big stonks.
Well, and look, Michael Himalayan, he got a boost already tonight with Independence getting its own nod, and he's going to continue to climb up the card. I have high hopes for what Michael Himalayan is capable of as an individual and as a trios competitor. But right now, Lucas Meltzer stands tall. And I told you before, I know you hated the number of losses that Lucas had to take, but to make a zero to hero journey really land, he has to be a zero to become that hero. And he's on a 2-win streak right now. And it seems like he's starting to put some things together. And I'm definitely not setting all this up so I can rip your heart out of you at the pay-per-view. Definitely not. This is a feel-good moment with no caveats whatsoever.
For sure.
But we move on to an event package here for Saving Throw, which is the bronze pay-per-view that we're going to be putting on that Tuesday stream. You know, we've got some great matches coming up. Fishbone versus Victor Magnus, which is only intensified with the Southern Sentries Eastern Elite feud. Ashton Nieves versus La Bestia, who's looking to get revenge. Lorena Lucia versus Tilly Cooper. Duka Igarashi versus Mistress Jade. The Magic Missiles versus the Hall of Ashes. Which, interesting that they're not going up against Judgment Day, because Judgment Day is getting a main event at tonight's match in a one-on-one against Magic Missiles. So we'll have to see what the Magic Missiles have planned for that. Flying High versus Light and Shadow. You know Light and Shadow put in some work last week to try to prove themselves against the Shooting Stars. They clearly believe that they're ready for that rematch. And Larger Than Life versus Liquid Steel continues to be the big feud in the trios. The only thing that's left, Xander, who the hell is El Muerte Blanco defending his Flame Warlock title against?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I wonder if at some point tonight we're going to get a segment that answers that question.
We just might. Very plausible.
We might, but it's not yet, because right now it is a street fight match between La Bestia del Infierno, the leader of the Hellfire Club, versus Prince Pretty Pink, the leader of the Western Watch. And La Bestia del Infierno, look, it would be reasonable to rest before saving throw, right? He's got his big rematch with Ashton Nieves. He already beat Prince Pretty Pink earlier this month, but he told me, I am hungry for a win. I am here to prove that I don't need the Northern Nightmare, that I'm better than Ashton Nieves, that El Muerte Blanco was a fool to let me go and to underestimate me. And I only do that if I give myself every chance possible to learn, to grow, to improve, and to beat down pretenders like Prince Pretty Pink, a guy who claims to be a leader only by usurping someone who was too injured to defend himself. That coward, I'm going to put him in the dirt. And Prince Pretty Pink, he didn't need to take this match either. 28% fatigue as a leader of the Western Watch. There's a lot on the line for him tonight if he takes a harsh fall at any point. But at the end of the day, he's looking at someone like La Bestia and like, God, if he has the King of the Thunderdome belt, that's dangerous, right? I mean, sure, Ashton Nieves is a buzzsaw. He's happy to take some people down. But La Bestia del Infierno, that's a hell beast. That's someone who doesn't even care about wins and losses sometimes. That's someone who's just here to destroy, to burn things down to the ground, something that you know at Glory of Legends very well.
Indeed.
And Prince Pretty Pink, he has to put a stop to that. And so even though he's tired, even though he has his own match at Saving Throw to prepare for, he's getting back in the ring in this street fight to try to keep La Bestia del Infierno down. The question is, Xander, is that going to be enough?
Is it going to be enough? Man, Prince Pretty Pink really needs a win, dude. Prince Pretty Pink really needs a win, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, sure, he's got the popularity lose. La Bestia is literally on fire right now with off the last win.
Yeah.
But Prince Pretty Pink is 0-3 in his last 3 matches, my guy.
True.
He is now hardcore negative win rate. Please don't send him further down the hole, okay? Narrative aside, please give my man Triple P, the quadruple P, Prince Pretty Pink the Prince. Give that man a win, please.
I have some bad news for you.
Well, I hate you, and my day is ruined.
I will unfortunately have to live with that, because La Bestia del Infierno, he is so enraged after his loss to Ashton Nieves at the last pay-per-view. He is like a honed blade at this moment in time. He is not going to make the same mistake again, and that level of pure conviction is enough to give him a nod tonight. Prince Pretty Pink, he does need a win, and I plan to give him one in time, but La Bestia del Infierno reverses Prince Pretty Pink's finisher, curses at him, and hits his own. I think that's the name of the game here, right? La Bestia is willing to tear Prince Pretty Pink down, and Prince Pretty Pink just can't quite stick the landing that would be necessary to secure the W tonight. Any final thoughts here before I move on?
Yeah, no, you should have given it to Prince Pretty Pink, and I'm mad that you didn't.
Well, we'll have to see what Prince Pretty Pink has in store. But we move on now. Monty Hendricks has called out El Muerte Blanco. Monty Hendricks, of course, now a member of Independence, and he has only improved, right, since wrapping up that feud with Ashton Nieves, as someone who sees himself as a gift from God and the highest ranked face that hasn't already had a shot at this belt or holds a tag belt that's being defended. He believes this is his opportunity and that he cannot be denied. And El Muerte Blanco just looks at him, right, as he demands his title match. And he looks almost amused. Like, who is this non-face of the company challenging me? But you know what? Fuck it. I'll agree to your demand. I'll give you a match at Saving Throw because fuck it. I don't have anything better to do anyway. I'd rather prove how inferior you are to me, then just rest on my laurels. So come at me, Monty Hendricks. It's on. And that's going to start a new challenger feud. It's a 4 3/4 star segment, and a nice start, and a boost to the Flame Warlock Championship, which I did not know the demand title shot segment did, though. Of course, that makes sense. Are you hyped for Monty Hendricks versus El Muerte Blanco, Xander?
I am hyped.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it because, I think this is I think it's going to be a fun one. I like Monty Hendricks quite a bit. I do think he has proven himself that he deserves some opportunities, and we'll see if he can live up to it. El Muerte Blanco is a tall task, but we will see what he can do. In the meantime, we're closing with a title match between the Magic Missiles and Judgment Day. And just like last month, right? Magic Missile said, we're done with you, highway robbery. We're over the fact that you injured us. We are over this idea that we need to be doing these multi-man matches at these pay-per-views. We're going to beat you now. You have your opportunity, and now we can call it a day. And the Magic Missile says, look, we fought both Judgment Day and Hall of Ashes. And if it wasn't for the fact that these two tag teams hated each other, we might have been in some serious trouble, because Hall of Ashes has gotten a lot stronger since we first wrestled these guys. And so they said, look, Judgment Day, you deserve a shot. We agree with that. You've done some good stuff. Say what you will about River Dannenberg and his subterfuge that undermined the Northern Nightmares, the spy for the Southern Sentries, but you're good wrestlers. We recognize that, and we'll give you a shot, but we're doing it tonight. If you want to be at the pay-per-view in the title match, win the title. That's an opportunity we're giving you that no one else gets. And Judgment Day, they're like, look, we're better than the Magic Missiles. We've just never had the one-on-one match to prove it. If it wasn't for the Hall of Ashes getting in our way, we totally would have been the Magic Missiles. And so this is a perfect opportunity. And their hubris, the Magic Missiles, have only set us up for exactly what we wanted. So that's the question here, Xander. Does Judgment Day get exactly what they wanted, or the Magic Missiles make them regret buying into this 1v1 before the pay-per-view?
Listen, Magic Missiles take the dub. It's not even close, all right? I like Judgment Day. I like the back and forth going on here. Magic Missiles are 200 popularity above them right now. Mm-hmm. They are 6-0 since the return of Red Arrow, all right? There's no way that you're taking the belt off them in a weekly, surely.
Yeah, that's right. This is Magic Missiles, but it's a 5 1/4
star.
I like the morale boost for each. I like the popularity boost for each. It's a hot match, which they well deserve. It's a holy shit moment.
I was going to say, scroll down. There you go.
Yellow Arrow, Bryce Dannenberg with the Battle of the Forearms, leading to another 30 creativity points. And the Defenders of the Realm, look, this reign that the Magic Missiles have propelled this belt far beyond my expectations. It is almost a gold belt, and perhaps with one more great title match at Saving Throw, perhaps it gets there. Look, I went into this card. I know I'm not beating you this month, but it's a 4.75 star card, and in any month in which you did not have two back-to-back 5-star cards, I'd be feeling pretty good about that. But at the end of the day, I like the storylines that I've built. I like where my belts are at and the matches that people are going to be able to look forward to at Saving Throw. And I hope that fans are as interested in this as I am, because I think there's some fun stuff coming down the pipeline.
I love it, man. Listen, great card. I gave you a couple of holy shit moments, so you're welcome.
Well, canonically, I do have to appreciate your generosity, so I will thank you for the holy shit moments. But, you could do me a favor and just fuck up this card so that I actually have a chance to secure some points tonight. But something tells me that you have quite the card in store for all of our folks at home watching this.
Oh, I sure do, Chase. I sure do.
So tell us, what can we look forward to in this Wednesday Night Triumph card?
Listen, All right. We got big matches up ahead. There are multiple faction, not just feuds, nay, faction wars that are beginning, reigniting, okay, and some that are beginning to boil over. All right. You have a whole bunch of big stuff coming at you, and a lot of it you are going to see on this card tonight. It is a foreshadow for what is coming up at this pay-per-view. All right. A taste, if you will, of the hype, the massive quantity of big matches, big wrestlers, big names, big feuds, big heat. All right, coming in strong.
Yeah, I can't wait to see some of these. I mean, obviously, I get a little bit of a sneak preview heading into these events, but you have had such good faction feuds coming down the pipeline, and I can't wait to see how they play out tonight as we get closer to Pendulum Drop, which is your bronze pay-per-view here. And we start, wait, is that Aiden Astro?
That is Aiden Astral returning, okay, after his stunt dive, miraculously, one might say, because it was only, what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it is a Wolverine-like recovery, so to speak. I don't know why Wolverine comes to mind,
that.
But
yeah. Surely I didn't use the Wolverine artifact to bring Aiden back sooner. And would you look at that? Aiden immediately going after Sinister Tengu, reminding everyone that, listen, I took that stunt dive and it was nuts. I got injured, but guess what? I am someone you now need to consider as a top tier heel. Okay. And you know, despite Sinister's name, he's a face, guys. All right. And he is with Young Revolution. Don't forget where Aiden is. Aiden's a member of Kanoto Karius.
he sure is. It's a 4 3/4 star segment. It's a perfect efficiency here, which just goes to show, you know, these bronze segments, they need a little bit of work to get to the point where they can be 5-star and above, but it's as good as you could hope for. It's a very strong push for Aiden Astral, who gets a nice popularity boost as well. And the fans are into it. They're going crazy here with Aiden Astral already making his recovery. And I gotta say, looking at this next match, you know, we knew that Kanoto Karius and Bright Future were going to be fighting tonight, but I don't think anyone expected Aiden Astral to be in this match, let alone a Sinister Tengu that just got beaten down. How did we get here?
Yeah, listen, Kanoto Karius, okay? Cassidy said we're riding tonight. We're getting on that horse and we're taking it right to Bright Future. Okay, we are going to put those folks in their place, take their belongings, put them in the dirt. And unfortunately, Xander Cage goes, hey, man, I'm exhausted. That brawl match last week, the match the week before that, I'm tired. I need a break before this comes up. And Cassidy said, well, damn, if I don't have my other Burgundy Bandit, what am I going to do? Okay? And that's when Aiden said, oh, I'm back, brother. I'm back, and you can rely on me. Tap me in. Let's do this together. And Cassidy, you know, gave his best yeehaw and said, let's ride. And they have one target. That target was Regan Awesome. Okay? And it's funny because everyone's saying, well, Sinister Tengu's in here. He just got the crap kicked out of him. And it's because he got the crap kicked out of him. Aiden Astral dragged him back up onto the ring, okay, after beating him right near the crowd. And Regan runs out to try and help Sinister Tengu, and he is basically in a 1v2, okay? It is Regan Awesome versus Cassidy, the Cassidy, leader of Kanoto Karius, and a returned, healthy, looking strong Aiden Astral. Tengu doing his best to help out Regan as much as he can. Mm-hmm. And that's the question. Can Regan Awesome, who is extremely talented, the newest member of Bright Future, do enough to overcome the faction leader of Kanoto Karius and a returned Aiden Astral?
Yeah, I mean, look, I like Regan Awesome. I love Regan Awesome. He was someone who I had in my original league and has done such good work for me. I was shocked last week when Regan Awesome joined Bright Future. Of all of the factions he could join, it's such a strong statement for the future of Bright Future, if you will. But I have to imagine a 1v2, which is essentially what is going down with Sinister Tengu getting beaten up so viciously by Aiden Astral. That's a tough hill to climb. Does he somehow pull off the upset, or is this Konodo Karius taking advantage of the opportunity?
Listen, right when Regan looks like he might actually be able to take down Cassidy, Aiden takes a step away from beating Tengu once again and drop kicks Regan Awesome. It's going to be Konodo Karius getting the win.
Yeah, it is interesting here. If you look at the order of operations, Sinister Tengu eliminates Cassidy first, and then Aiden Astral beats both of them. So an incredible performance.
Even better.
By Aiden Astral if you're going from the lore perspective. Obviously, a little bit of a morale and overness hit for Sinister Tengu and Regan Awesome is a shame, but it's a 4 3/4 star match. It's a gimmick boost for Cassidy. And I have to imagine, I mean, these are two strong segments out of the gate for you.
Yeah, no, listen, we're happy with where it's going, but you know, Konodo Karius are the real ones that are cheering right now because you know they see themselves as the ones to upset the balance of things. You know, the everything from the middle down in this promotion they feel has gotten stale. You know, of course, me as the promotion manager and Johnny Hangtime disagree, but we can't argue that the fans are loving what Konodo Karius are doing right now. And Cassidy, once again, proving that he is a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. Cassidy.
And welcome back, Aiden Astral.
Yeah, Aiden, I mean, from that stunt dive, he has turned into something incredible to watch. And I cannot wait to see just how far Aiden Astral can climb. But we move on. And it looks like General Hayashima has an introduction here to the crowd. What brings him and Wijaya together?
Yeah, listen, General Hayashima, he has been a true leader within Burn It All Down, okay? And a lot of the times, he's the one taking the hit for one of his guys to move on and get the win. And General, you know, he was utilizing that big brain of his, okay, that tactical mind, being a consummate tactician. And he said, you know what? I think this tag division is weak. I think that these tag teams that are out right now, seeing what the Burgundy Bandits have been able to do and the run that they've been able to make against some of these tags, the fact that Juge are the ones holding the belt right now, Burn It All Down need to be more involved in this. And I'm going to grab a guy who is a phenomenal wrestler, but hasn't been able to get a lot of wins. And together, we're going to start making a run for it. We are going to start taking care of business for the tags, for Burn It All Down. We're not going to get Executioner and Show out here. They're too busy doing their solo stuff. Set Fire doesn't have time to waste on this low-tier quality wrestling. That's how they feel. And because of that, General Hayashima and Wijaya, they think they have what it takes. Krieger right there alongside him, egging him on, saying, hey, let's do this. Let's make a statement here. As members of Burn It All Down, let's start bringing home some tag wins.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I like Wijaya. I think he's been on the rise. I think, you know, I honestly love that you went back to this new association despite the Burgundy Bandit segment going so poorly. The game rewarded you for it this time. It says a lot that despite the charisma of these competitors, 100% effectiveness was still only going to be 3 3/4 star until Tucker Carlson's brother came through in the clutch for you. So congratulations to his work on that. And I have to imagine 4 1/4 star, you're feeling pretty good about.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they're both only, you know, three charisma, so I don't think it's that surprising that that's, you know, like the upper end there when it's still, I believe, bronze. But, you know, listen, we take it. Tucker Carlson's brother doing some good work for us, and, you know, now we're looking forward to a good match here,
Yes.
which, if you would like to showcase for me, I'll discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting match here between Juge and Burn It All Down, mostly because You look at Juge, right? This is part of a friendly contest between Oda's Revenge and Blot Out the Sun. The two tags within Juge have been fighting each other, but Green Arrow and Yuji Onishi, it seems like they have come together trying to put their rivalry aside to deal with this new Flame Regiment tag that Burn It All Down has put together. Is that right?
Well, listen, it's a friendly rivalry, all right? We've established that. They are friends. They are aligned in their goals. Okay? It was really just for posturing. They do want to be leaders, all right? And they feel that healthy rivalry, okay, pushes each other to be better. All right? You think of them like, traditional wrestlers or jiu-jitsu artists. You can have a good friend that you go out there and when you're on the mat, you're not friends, right? But the minute you get off, you guys are aligned, your goals are aligned, you're pushing each other, you're trying to make each other better. And tonight, Green Arrow, his brother couldn't wrestle. And he went and said, hey, Yuji, listen, we've got an opportunity to take it to Burn It All Down. They're building this new tag. I heard about it. I think we should go put a stop to it before it becomes a real problem for Juge. And Yuji said, of course, man, let's do this. Let's represent Juge. Let's get a win. Doesn't matter that we haven't wrestled before. We have the same idea about how to work this promotion. And you're a tag specialist. I'm a tag specialist. Let's make it happen.
I appreciate the sentiment here. I like both of these competitors quite a bit. I don't actually think that Green Arrow is a tag team specialist.
He's not. But
he might again, as well be with how good
yeah.
Blot Out the Sun have been. But I gotta say, if you're trying to beat down the Flame Regimen, maybe it would have been a little bit smarter to have a tag team that has that full synergy together rather than two individual members of different tag teams. Does this end up being a tactical mistake from Juge against this new tag?
Unfortunately it does. Wijaya and Hayashima, they put the work in coming into this match. And even though Green Arrow and Yuji Onishi are phenomenal together, they're surprisingly good, I will say, because you can't see the match live. They are surprisingly good together. And it's a very close match. But at the end of the day, Wijaya and Hayashima are able to pull it out. Krieger has been downloading Juge's weaknesses. He has been studying them. And him and Hayashima putting their minds together with the talent that is Wijaya, it's just too much.
It's a 5-star match. And according to this, General Hayashima had eliminated both before either him or Wijaya went down. So an incredible performance from him. He's truly proving why Burn It All Down and Executioner Goro have so much trust in him, despite whatever his singles record might look like. A 5-star match, your highest of the night. I believe the highest of the night overall, including all of the other cards. I think maybe I had one that might.
You had the 5 and a
higher.
quarter. Yeah, you had the 5 and a quarter. Yep.
Still a damn good performance. And a good start to Flame Regiment. This is not necessarily going to show up on their score sheet, despite the fact that this faction was formed because of the way the game handles that. But it's a debut victory for all intents and purposes, and congrats to them for securing the W tonight.
Yeah.
But we move on to a match between Maricela Reyes and Kurosaru, which is part of this headhunting feud that has been going on back and forth. How did we get here, Xander?
Yeah, listen, Kurosaru, this started off as Kurosaru looking at some of the women in the mid and lower card and saying, hey, I want to bring all of the talented women, all of the talented heels over to Conquest or Death. Okay. She saw herself as someone that needed to consolidate talent, really to defeat Emily. She thought it was going to be her and Ume and others having to take down Emily, but it just ended up being Ume. And now Kurosaru, having just recently lost her belt, now she's sitting here saying, oh, well, now I'm just going to take Maricela on my own, make sure she understands her place, bring her into Conquest or Death, get rid of this nonsense in your head that is Burn It All Down. You belong here with us. And meanwhile, Maricela's been climbing. Maricela's been climbing hard. And she's saying to herself, Kurosaru, you have no shot at taking me away from Burn It All Down. And in fact, I'm going to be the one that starts bringing in members. And I'm going to prove that I am the best woman in this promotion. You folks just didn't realize it when I started off with how my journey here began.
You know, I think that's fair. It's interesting to see Maricela Reyes, right? Because I know you love her. I know what you have seen in her, and you have continued to give her opportunities. She is 3-10 overall, and if Walter was here, I can hear his voice now. Why should I care about a 3-10 wrestler against someone like Kurosaru, who was just a belt holder, who only recently lost to Jade Gatlin at Glory of Gold to lose that women's title weight belt? It feels like Kurosaru has everything that she needs to secure the win tonight, but I gotta tell you, I'm looking at my notes, and I feel like you're going in a different direction.
Yeah, well, what you'd fail to recognize is that Maricela's won 3 out of her last 4 matches, and not just beating women, she's beating men too. Maricela is on fire right now. She was in a lot of big matches, and she's going to continue to do so. She's just too good right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Iron Man match, I think, was an inspired choice because it does increase both wrestlers' popularity, despite Kurosaru taking an L here. Maricela, 968, is a very nice place to be. She's well on her way to potentially being a face of the company herself one day. It's only 4.25 stars from a ranking perspective, but it does have a holy shit moment here as Maricela Reyes kicks out of Kurosaru's finisher, using her body to get up and ask to be finished off. So your first holy shit moment of the night, your first hot match of the night, and something that really propels Maricela. And I imagine that the fans of Glory of Legend should get used to seeing Maricela Reyes with a mark in the W column, because this seems to be the new normal for her.
Yeah, listen, she is now 4 out of 5 wins, and the one loss that she was a part of was the women's heavyweight belt. So you can't sleep on Maricela. She is just too good right now. Kurosaru has to pick herself back up, but we've seen this with the women's division. A lot of the time when these belt holders that go on these massive runs drop the belt, it takes them a little while to find their footing again. This is a very contested women's division. We've got some of the highest rated popularity women in across all promotions, and because of that, if you falter a little bit, odds are you're taking more than one step back. And Kurosaru's finding that out the hard way tonight, unfortunately.
She sure did. And I wish the best for Kurosaru. I had Kurosaru in my original game, and I have an affection for her. But Maricela has continued to surprise me step by step, so I am very interested to see how far she can truly climb. But we have quite the segment here, and I'm just going to let you hash this out here, Xander. What are we seeing with Johnny Hangtime getting on the mic to slander a competitor?
Yeah, Johnny Hangtime is getting on the mic tonight, and he, of course, is talking about the Campeonato de Lucha Sur. And he's saying, listen, Campeonato de Lucha Sur, garbage. Why do you even tune in to that drivel? All right? When you have a promotion like ours, look at the package we have put out week after week, pay-per-view after pay-per-view. You think that just because they came out and had one good showing in the last 3 months that they are worth watching? No. When it comes time to paying for a pay-per-view, you know what product you should be watching, all right? And it is Glory of Legends, all right? It is the pendulum swinging, and it's swinging right over the neck of the Campeonato de Lucha Sur.
Wow. I mean, this is new ground here. Obviously, we've had some trash talk individually when we talk about, what these, when we get on the mic and we talk about each of these cards, and, you've been telling Eduardo to his face with all these weekly trips to Chile you've been making. But Johnny Hangtime doing it in the ring, that is new. And I cannot wait until Tuesday when Eduardo finally gets his chance to fire back against the slander that Johnny's bringing. I will say it worked. You got an extra 5 hype. Not that you, of all people, need more hype for your weekly show, but it did fucking work. So we will see what this means for both Glory of Legends and Campeonato de Luchasaur as we head to the next pay-per-view. But for now, we do have to move on. And look, I mean, that's it's quite the match we have next with Alexis Kovac versus Emily Everett, with Johnny Hangtime as the special referee. That's got to be feeling pretty good for Emily Everett, given she's also a member of Conquest or Death, right?
Listen, Emily Everett is a phenomenal wrestler. Okay. And she is arguably one of the greatest female wrestlers across any of our promotions. But one can argue she may have shown her hand a little too early last week. And so the question is, does Johnny want Conquest or Death to ensure that they win this match tonight? Or is he willing to let Alexis Kovac sneak a win over Emily to make sure Emily knows her place? Both things are things that Johnny has gone out and been loud about. He's been very vocal about putting everyone who's challenging them in their place, reminding Eric, reminding Elliot that they are beneath him, constantly beating his brothers. And Emily, very recently, showed up in a match and tried to take the Emperor's belt. Johnny simultaneously is fixated on this war with For the People. He doesn't want For the People and Conquest or Death to be even in the same discussion. He thinks that it should be Conquest or Death above all, and the rest of the faction should be squabbling for what's left. Alexis isn't even one of the highest ranking members of For the People. So either way, you could argue Johnny loses. But only Johnny knows what Johnny wants to do. And only Johnny decides who's going to win. Provided the match is close enough, of course. He would never tip the scales in a match that is a blowout. But that being said, what do you think is going to happen tonight?
I mean, look, if I am going purely on factions, which so much of what you have built has been faction focused, and in a total war, no less, it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around Johnny Hangtime allowing Alexis Kovac to get a win. Because even with whatever feud Emily and Johnny might have down the line, whatever threats may be there, it's war. And with war, you shore up your allies, you team up against your enemies, and you sort out the rest later. That's something that Walter has done very thoroughly with his cards within the Stamford Wrestling Alliance. It's something that I've always tried to keep in mind. That's just a principle that feels like it needs to be there if you're going to be the faction leader who says that our enemy is the focus. So if you give this win to Alexis Kovac, what I'm hearing is that Johnny cares more about himself than he does about Conquest or Death. So that's the question. What matters more to Johnny?
Well, you're right, but you're framing it a little improperly.
I think my framing's fair, but you tell me how Johnny disagrees with that.
You're framing it improperly because Johnny believes he is Conquest or Death. Without Johnny, there is no Conquest or Death. And if you're threatening Johnny, you're threatening the foundation of not just the faction, but the entire promotion, because he is the Emperor. It is a threat on all. And because of that, he is going to guarantee that Alexis Kovac wins tonight.
I'm going to say it right now. Johnny, you're a goddamn coward. That's a cowardly thing to do. To give For the People a victory because Emily doesn't fall in line the way you want. That's the first time I'm calling you a coward, Johnny. But it's a 5-star match, so he's not going to give a shit. He did exactly what he needed to do. The crowd was in on it. Emily certainly hurt by her faction leader, taking a victory away from her like this. But it does lead to a holy shit moment as Alexis Kovac hits Emily Everett with a finisher off the top rope. Everything went exactly the way you could hope for. But Johnny, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like the best leaders don't say, I am the entirety of what this is about.
Well, you got to remember, J- Johnny doesn't see himself as the best leader. Johnny sees himself as an emperor would. He is above all. Johnny is the closest thing to a god that exists within Glory of Legends in his mind. And I will tell you that I'm legally contracted that I cannot argue with that currently at this time.
That is true. I shouldn't put the pressure on you to have to defend anything that just played out. This is the Emperor making his call, but I gotta say, I've seen emperors historically make this move before, focusing on domestic enemies at the expense of enemies abroad. And we'll see if this opens the door for the people, because for the people, as far as they're concerned, Alexis just got a win tonight, and Alexis is now on his way to becoming a face of the company in his own right. And I'm not sure that Johnny is ultimately going to believe that giving another For the People member a chance to be a face of the company is what protects his throne. But we'll have to see. All we know now is that it's a 5-star match. The fans are fucking in. And Emily, I imagine, is going to hold on to this one for whatever matches are to come.
Oh, she sure is.
Yes.
She sure is.
But we've got quite the interesting match here because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Xander, but this is a women's lightweight championship match with two people who are not women and do not identify as such.
Correct.
What is happening in this fatal 4-way first blood match?
So it's not really a fatal 4-way, okay? The game, unfortunately, doesn't have the same vision I do for what I wanted to do here, okay? This is really at its core a 2v2. It is a faction 2v2. You see Anastasia, you see Skullshot, you see Jade, and you see Jay. All right, you got JJ and you got ass. No, I'm just kidding. And you and you got Anastasia and Skullshot. So you know what does that mean? We're running. That's right. It means we're running it. We're running the total war. Okay, the total war is continuing and it's boiling over in this women's lightweight bout. Now, remember that there was a couple of things that happened. Okay, you have some greatest wrestler feuds that have been going on between Anastasia and Jade, and between Skullshot, who just returned, and Jay Avalon. Skullshot seeing his opportunity to go after Jay here, and hopefully, as a result, making sure Anastasia sneaks the belt away during the match. Now, simultaneously, Anastasia and Jade have been going at it. And Jade, lately, has been the one getting the better of these bouts. Okay? Jade obviously has a lot of losses, and so does Anastasia. But Jade has been the one climbing the card. She is the lightweight champion. But there was something else that happened, Chase. Can you recall what that was?
Yeah, I'm seeing this grudge feud between Jay Avalon and Jade Gatlin. Was Jade the target of the cryptic threat that emerged last week?
Jay sure was the target of the cryptic threat. And it turns out that it came from Jade Gatlin. Okay? Jade sent the cryptic threat because Jade, with her newfound popularity, her newfound success, she thinks that if a couple of members of For the People haven't been doing their job, and you know, maybe she's being a little harsh on Jay for underperforming, but she feels internally that some of Jay's lack of success hasn't been because he's not trying or because he's not talented. She thinks it's been intentional. And Jay is, not happy about that. But I'll tell you what. One other person found out about the cryptic threat and who it came from. Okay? And that was Skullshot. Skullshot got a tip from Johnny that Jay and Jade are secretly feuding. And Skullshot sees this as his opportunity to guarantee that Anastasia is going to get the win tonight by just showing up, all right, and keeping Jay like sort of letting him do his thing against Jade. He thinks that Jade will throw the match, and all Skullshot has to do is come in at the right moment, clothesline him, let Anastasia pin Jade, and it's a free win. It is the easiest possible thing. No way he could screw this up. All he's got to do is show up and put Jay in his place.
It is fascinating, right? Because theoretically, why would Jade want Jay to be the one representing For the People in this essentially 2v2 with some help on the side? It seems like perhaps she doesn't know that Jay Avalon's caught on yet. We don't see Jay's intelligence stat, but being able to put together that cryptic threat so quickly has to speak something to him. I have to imagine that despite Jay and Jade not being on the same page, either Skullshot and Anastasia are also not on the same page, or something else allows Jade to get a win here, because I can't imagine you giving the belt over the weekly before the pay-per-view. Am I wrong? Is this Listen, Jade finally falling short?
Johnny was the one who orchestrated this because Johnny thought he had it all figured out. He thought that this is basically a 1v3, and there's no way that Jade is going to come out of this. All right. She's going to be taken by surprise that Jay, of all people, figured it out that quickly when she obviously thinks very low of him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that Anastasia is a talented wrestler. She just hasn't been given enough proper opportunities to succeed. And Skullshot on his return has been nothing short of phenomenal. Obviously, right there, you see he's 0-5, but, he had the attack on the return. Everything he's done since he's been back was really positive. Yeah. Had the win, with Conquest or Death in the multi-person match.
Yes.
But Johnny failed to account for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Jade Gatlin getting a warning.
Mm.
And so Jade is prepared to deal with all three of these people. And she puts herself in a position where she can't lose. She takes out Anastasia. She takes out Jay before Skullshot can even get involved. And she's going to walk away with the belt.
Wow, that is a 1v3 essentially from Jade. I honestly did not know she had it in her. It took so long for her to finally get that victory over Kurosaru, and I mean, that's gotta hurt from Jay. Not just because Jade basically proving herself correct that Jay is not doing enough, that this too good for you attitude is an inaccurate representation of where he's at with this company, but also that someone else has figured out this threat. I mean, does that imply that someone in leadership at For the People is giving her the heads up and has encouraged this? It's hard to say for now. All we know at this moment in time is that the grudge has already gone hot between Jade and Jay, which is huge. It just moment one, the resentment that has built because of this cryptic threat and whatever that means for the People, which I cannot wait to see how you play it out, has already been incredibly interesting. It's led to a holy shit moment as Jade suplex Skullshot into the apron, playing into that 1v3 storyline that you have built. And it's a huge boost for the Women's Lightweight Championship. So mission accomplished, I think, from your end, Xander, but man, I can't imagine what For the People have got to be thinking right now.
Listen, For the People are happy that they're walking away with 2 wins tonight, one of which they felt was, in their hands. I mean, they thought Jade was going to win. And I'll tell you, the only 2 people in For the People that are aware of what's going on with that cryptic threat, the one thing I can reveal is that for that specifically, it's just Jade and Jay. So you asked that question earlier, who gave that warning? It's a great question. It's not someone in For the People, though.
Wow. Well,
now,
it wasn't
beyond
Johnny.
That,
I can't imagine Johnny, so I cannot wait to see who else could possibly be. That's quite the mystery.
Now, beyond that, they were certain Emily Everett was going to take the win over Alexis, especially after what she did to him last time. But they're happy to be walking away with this, and right now they're leading. It's a slight lead, it's a humble lead, but they're leading in this feud.
Yeah, well, and you're leading in the scorecard. It's a 4.75 star, which is no surprise. Congratulations on securing the victory and securing the point
Thank you.
in the set of weeklies. The important thing here, Xander, more than anything else, is that with that victory, you and I are tied at 5.5 points in the overall standings. Eduardo right behind at 4, and Walter does not care about the score, so we don't even need to mention it. But we do see here, you and I both gain fans tonight with 4.75 stars. Eduardo loses a little bit despite the 4.5 star card. Same with Walter here. But I think, this is about as consistent as we've seen for weekly shows heading into a pay-per-view. So hopefully everyone is prepared for what we have in store. Do you have any final thoughts here on how tonight played out?
Yeah, listen, Johnny said it all. Okay, Compañero de Luchador, you guys are second rate. All right, Eduardo, you got your work cut out. Good luck, bud. I'm coming at you. I'm coming at you hard. I'm coming at you fast. This promotion, all right, pendulum swing is gonna hit. And I'm sorry that you got to be on the receiving end. Maybe you shouldn't have killed Tafit. All right, he sends his regards.
Yeah, Tafit sends his regards indeed. I, for one, love seeing that rivalry play out. We will see if anyone else picks up the slander competitor plan after seeing how well you orchestrated it tonight, because that was quite the segment. And I think the key with you, obviously the 4.5 being the thing that doubled is a little bit of a shame, but it was consistency throughout this card and throughout all the cards you've had over these last few weeks. That is how you set yourself apart. I cannot wait to see how this plays out. I can't wait to see how all of these companies play out their next bronze pay-per-view, which will again be Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It is different than our typical schedule because Walter is coming to LA. And as much as I'm excited to see him in person, I am also excited to make sure that everyone can attend it to our weekly competitions. So definitely follow us at twitch.tv/redshirtking to see that stream when it goes live. Xander, where can the nice folks at home find you?
You can find me on all socials at Tentacle Coach. I will teach you how to play Alawi among many other League of Legends champions. But more importantly, as always, please go follow Brooklyn College Esports. That's CUNYBC Esports on all socials. They're doing great stuff. We lost to Fisher College tonight, top 5 team in the country or whatever. But we're beating a lot of the other good teams. All of our teams are squared away, and they'd love your support. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Give them some love. Follow Xander and Brooklyn College. Follow me, Chase Wassernaut, bsky.social. I'm trying to spend less time on the Twitters, but I do love hearing from folks what you're liking, what you want to see more of in these competitions. Do you have a favorite promotion heading into the next set of weeklies? I am very, very interested to see how these all play out. Hopefully you are as well. But for now, goodbye, Internet.
Peace.